Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Jay Myhand, here with Community Conversations, Coping Through COVID-19, presented by Vision Movement 2020. Today, we're going to talk about personal finances. We know money is one of those important topics, and right now, a lot of people are impacted because they're either working at home or out of work. And, people's money in some situations is tight. In other situations, people might be able to take advantage of what's going on. So today we have someone who has taken a deep dive into personal finance, and they're here to share some best practices and good perspectives with us today. That person is none other than the co-founder of The Wealth Culture, Denise Myhand. How you doing today, Denise?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing well. And before we get started, I do want to give full disclosure to our audience. Denise is my lovely wife, and so I have the pleasure of interviewing her. And I just wanted to make sure that was out there in the open, so won't want nobody on the back end be like, wait a minute. So, Denise, as we get started today, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about the Wealth Culture and the Wealth Culture Academy.
Sure. As already stated, my name is Denise Myhand, and I'm the co-founder of The Wealth Culture and creator of Budgeting is Bay. The Wealth Culture is a Huntsville, Alabama company that is dedicated to teaching financial literacy in the African American community. Our focus is to bridge the wealth gap. We provide tips, tools, and inspirations to our community to help them build and flex their financial muscle. We focus on setting financial goals, budgeting, debt repayment, building emergency funds, and socializing personal finance in general. We offer services online and offline, and you can check us out at thewealthcultureacademy.com.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into our conversation today. If you would, let us know what are some things that we should all be doing regarding our personal finances right now, since we're in the midst of COVID-19 and these stay-at-home orders.
Okay, that's a great question because so many things are different. Right now, first of all, if you are not budgeting your money, if you're not actively budgeting, I would highly recommend that you start doing that now. Take account of what monies are coming in and out of your household and make a plan accordingly. Budgeting and having that plan also not only gives you a plan of attack, but it also gives you peace of mind. So it has a therapeutic benefit because you'll have a sense of calm in this uncertain time. You'll feel more at peace with a plan in place. Secondly, if you already are budgeting, I would recommend you to reevaluate your budget. Because as I mentioned before, a lot of things are changing right now, and the things that we did pre-pandemic, our schedules and lifestyles are completely different post-pandemic, right? So take me, for example. Right now, I'm currently working from home. I'm teleworking as opposed to commuting to work. So because I'm doing that, I'm not spending as much money on gas, or I'm not spending as much money eating out. And I am actually able to save a little bit more because I'm spending money on those particular line items, and I'm diverting that extra money to my savings to beef up my savings. So make sure that you are reassessing what's going on with your budget if you're already actively budgeting, and then make any necessary adjustments. Secondly, I want to encourage people to make sure that you are paying your bills. Keep paying your bills. I know there are a lot of extensions and a lot of different programs and things going on, but if you can still pay your bills, continue to pay them, because although those services are available to you right now, those bills are still going to come due, and it's still going to be our responsibility to get them paid. And my third and final thing is, like I mentioned earlier, working on your emergency fund, beefing up your emergency fund with any extra monies that you have available or that you can get your hands on.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure I got all of that. So
Yes.
first, If you're not budgeting, it's a good time to start budgeting, it sounds like. If you are budgeting, reevaluate your budget. Pay your bills, because if you don't, and even though you may have some kind of hold off, you still got to pay all that money back. And then what was that last one again?
Beef up your savings.
Okay, beef up your savings. All right. Making sure I'm taking some mental notes here. All righty. So when it comes to talking about money, for some families, having discussion about money is pretty taboo. I think through social media, we've been able to see that it's a hot topic, and a topic of contention in some situations, unfortunately. So with money being taboo, how do you recommend someone set the stage to have this money discussion with members in their household and their family?
That's a great question. I think money is already a very sensitive topic, even with people who are close with one another, correct? So you have to create a safe space for those conversations to occur. You have to make sure that everyone involved in the conversation feels comfortable and at ease to discuss their concerns or maybe even their financial mistakes, to be able to share those with the household. And also to counter that, and everybody in the household has to be open to listening without being overly critical or condemning the person for their thoughts, views, or possible mistakes in the past. So when you have a safe space, it's all about lowering the temperature in the room, because these are people that we care about, and when we all are financially on the same page, we can move further. We can move further together.
Gotcha. So creating this safe space helps to eliminate the possibility of one person being very aggressive, the next person maybe being very passive, and kind of bridges the two people or the people in the household so that a good discussion on money can be had. So is that kind of okay?
You don't want
Gotcha.
anybody to feel ganged upon or ostracized or anything like that.
Okay. So right now, especially with some people being laid off and others not being able to work because of the stay-at-home order and the COVID-19 situation that's happening, some people, don't have any money coming in right now. In some situations, there might be a little bit of money coming in, it's reduced. In other situations, it's none at all. So how do you suggest for someone who's in a situation where they have little money or no money coming in, how do you suggest that they budget?
Well, if someone has been laid off during this time and they don't have any money, little to no money coming in, I would first recommend that we start trying to get them in contact with the right resources or the right assistance. For example, the CARES Act that was recently passed by Congress, which has expanded unemployment benefits and insurance. That can get a person started on getting income back into their household. Also, there are other organizations here locally that can possibly help with housing assistance and maybe food assistance. So we would really try to get started looking for those different resources and getting income coming into the home. And once that income is coming into the home, then that is when we start trying to come up with a plan to maximize the assistance and the resources that we have coming in. This is where having a budget really comes in handy, because whether you have a lot of money coming in or you have a little money coming in, having a plan for that money is essential. And I really can't stress that enough to people. By budgeting and having it written down, it gives you something to refer to and something that you can lay your eyes on. And I would like to say that having a budget in place doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, you can just pay all your bills, because that goes beyond the scope of having, that goes beyond the scope of what a budget is. But having a budget gives you a clear picture of what is what regarding your money and your resources. Budgeting and setting financial goals will help you get a handle on your financial situation, and it will give you something to work towards, as well as a roadmap to how to get there.
So for someone who doesn't have any money coming in, there's still opportunity for them to manage their money. And it helps them to be strategic. And I like you calling out those resources, making sure that, 'cause especially if they've been laid off, or their job has ended because of the pandemic, making sure they get any available resources into the household. And then it seems like from there, once money is coming in, they know how that money is being spent, whether or not it's paying bill A or bill B, but they have a visual of that. And you said always write it down?
Always write it down.
Gotcha. All right. So on the flip side of this, so we have people who are laid off, and we also have people who are working from home. So I think that creates a different dynamic. And for a lot of those people that are working from home, they have a huge advantage, because in our area, we have Redstone Arsenal. And we know the types of jobs that exist through working directly for the government or through contracts related to Redstone Arsenal jobs. And so through those jobs, there are quite a few people in the area making some pretty good money. But even a lot of those people who are making good money still find themselves, you know, kind of struggling on a week-to-week or a check-to-check basis. So it looks like making money and having wealth or savings, they don't quite equate to one another. What causes that breakdown?
I actually come across that a lot when speaking with people. I think a lot of us are confusing good income with wealth, and there really are two totally different things. A lot of us think that I make good money and I can buy what I want, therefore that makes me wealthy. However, oftentimes people who, not in all cases, but in a lot of them, people who make a large sum of money are using a lot of that money on depreciating assets, things that do not increase in value, things like luxury cars or expensive clothing. It's important not to put your income in, or not to put a large portion of your income in those things, but more so into appreciating assets, things that will grow over time and will increase in money, increase in value. The thing about, I think the thing about wealth and income is really just the money that you have coming in, which can stop at any time. But wealth is the amount of money that you can keep, that is yours, and that you have control over. So I think that's really the key difference between high income and wealth.
Okay. That's a good explanation. Thank you for breaking that down for us. So you've written a book entitled The Debt Slay Guide, and it's about becoming debt free. Can you tell us a little bit about that book and what inspired you to write it?
Sure. The title of the book is called The Debt Slay Guide, and it is an autobiographical and instructional guide to paying off debt. A few years ago, I found myself in a bad financial spot where I had, where actually you and I both were working. We both were making good money, but we had a lot of debt. We didn't have a lot in savings, and we were really just an emergency away from financial disaster. We had medical debt, car debt, student loan debt, any type of debt, you name it. And I really felt uncomfortable in this situation, because I felt like, although we looked good on the outside, that our foundation was shaky, right? And you know that you can't build or really grow anything on a shaky foundation. So I went about the business of educating myself, learning everything, best practices, theories, tips, techniques, and how to manage your money better and get your debt paid down. So after all my training and research, we attacked our debt, and we were able to pay off a significant amount of debt in just 2 years. And it really made a world of difference in our lives financially, because we weren't walking around with a debt monster on our back. I took everything that I learned through that process, and I applied it, or excuse me, I took everything I learned in that process and put it into my book, because it really inspired me. I know that if I could do it, that anybody could do it. And I think everyone deserves the opportunity to be able to win with their finances and live their best lives.
Okay. So you've shared some really good insight with us today. Before we get out of here, what are 3 things that you would want our audience to take away and start doing if they aren't already doing regarding their personal finances?
Sure. So if, so first of all, budget. If you're not budgeting, please start budgeting. And if you are currently budgeting, please review your budget. 2, build an emergency savings. An emergency savings can go a long way in times like these. And 3, start thinking about paying off your debt, because the less it takes for you to live, the better you can live.
And when you say the less it takes for you to live, like your monthly expenses, if that amount is as low as possible, then if in these emergency type situations, you've got less that has to go out of the household.
Exactly. And you have to come up with less too, right?
Right. Well, Ms. D, I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us here on Community Conversations, Coping Through COVID-19. And I hope that maybe we can get you back on the show, because this is just a small topic, or the amount of time that we have, we're only able to cover just a small number of things today. But there's definitely a wealth of information that you can offer. And so we would definitely like to have you back.
No, that would be my pleasure. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can email me at denise@thewealthculture.com, or send us a message at thewealthculture.com, at The Wealth Culture on Facebook.
All right, and we'll make sure we get that information on the bottom of the screen for our audience. So again, Ms. D, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All righty. All right, folks. So that pretty much wraps up our show today. Thank you for joining us here on Community Conversations, Coping Through COVID-19, presented by Vision Movement 2020. We will see you next time. Thank you again.